Reality as projection. Talbot explains that, in the holographic model, the reality we perceive with our senses is merely a three-dimensional projection of a deeper and more fundamental reality. Although this projection may seem tangible and real, in essence, it is made up of encoded energy waves that organize into interference patterns, which our brain decodes. This phenomenon is similar to how, on our televisions, we can tune into different channels that show specific images. The underlying reality, however, is made up of electromagnetic waves that float in the environment and are decoded by the television into images. Beyond traditional physics. For Michael Talbot, the work of David Bohm and Carl Pribram not only transformed the understanding of physics and neuroscience, but also opened the door to new ways of interpreting phenomena that until then didn't fit well into conventional scientific models. Talbot believed that this holographic theory offered a potential explanation for experiences such as telepathy, premonitions, and other psychic phenomena that, according to him, could be related to the interconnected nature of the universe. If, as Pribram stated, the brain operates holographically, it has the ability to access information stored anywhere in that holographic field. In other words, human consciousness would not be limited by time or space. Talbot saw this as evidence that our everyday reality is just a small fraction of a much broader and more complex reality, to which we can sometimes access in altered states of consciousness or through mystical experiences. This has fascinating implications for psychic phenomena. Traditionally, we think of telepathy as a signal traveling from one mind to another. However, if the universe is holographic, this transforms. Each of us contains the entire universe in every atom, every cell, and every neuron. This would allow us to access information that seems to be beyond the limits of our own brains or minds. A new understanding of reality. Although this idea may seem radical, it resonates with many spiritual traditions that have held for centuries that the universe is an interconnected network. Through practices like meditation, breathing, or even suddenly, we can access the projection of the hologram, the whole, or the divine mind. Talbot saw in the work of Bohm and Pribram scientific proof that the separation between the material and the immaterial is an illusion, suggesting that reality is much more plastic, dynamic, and mysterious than we usually believe. Human consciousness, then, could be the key to accessing those deeper levels of reality and understanding that the universe is much more than the mere sum of its parts. This very consciousness, which shapes reality on a fundamental level, also has the power to influence the body, opening the door to self-healing. Self-healing through our mental power. When we delve into the power of the mind to influence the body, we encounter amazing examples, such as the placebo effect and healing through visualization. In his book about the holographic universe, Talbot mentions an experiment conducted by a psychologist with soldiers. He had them march the same distance, but told some they had marched 10 miles, others 20 miles, and others 30 miles. Surprisingly, when physiological measurements were taken, the soldiers' bodies responded to the number of miles they believed they had marched, not to the actual distance. This principle also applies to medicine. The placebo effect, for example, is a clear reflection of how we respond to the reality model we believe in. Talbot tells the story of a man with lymphatic cancer, with tumors the size of oranges. His doctor gave him only a few days to live, but the man insisted on trying an experimental drug called cribiozin. Although the doctor doubted it, he agreed to administer it. Miraculously, within 3 days, the tumors began to disappear. The man made a full recovery. Months later, he read that cribiozin was not very effective, and immediately the tumors returned. The doctor, seeing a possible connection between the mind and body, lied to the patient, telling him that the articles were wrong and that he was going to give him an even more potent version of the drug. What he actually injected him with was saline water, but again, the man temporarily healed. Months later, he read another article that completely denied the effectiveness of the drug. The tumors returned once more, and sadly, the man passed away. The key point here is that his healing was not caused by the drug itself, but by his deep belief that it would cure him. His body responded to the reality he had created in his mind, and that led him to a temporary recovery, even when he was only receiving saline water. This type of belief-based response is reflected in numerous studies. Here is another example, this time of the opposite effect, the nocebo effect. In England, an experiment was conducted with a new chemotherapy drug. One group of cancer patients was given the real medication, while another group received a placebo. Both groups were warned that the medication could cause hair loss. Surprisingly, 30% of the patients who only received the placebo lost their hair, which shows that they were reacting more to what they believed the medication would do than to its actual composition. This is the true power of the holographic mind. Not only do we perceive reality through the filters that our mind projects, but sometimes these mental models can directly influence our body. The implications of this are profound, from healing to our relationship with the physical world around us. This power of the mind, of our infinite self, is astonishing. We are capable of manifesting negative or positive physical effects based on the perception and reality models we maintain in our heads. In the same way, we are able to manifest positive or negative things in our lives, depending on our vibrational state, as we have already extensively discussed on the channel. So, we must be very careful with what we believe and how we interpret the reality around us. Our minds have more influence on reality than we usually think, as we will see next.